Very good afternoon, everyone. This does make me very, very, very nostalgic to begin with. I am from this university. I'm very proud of this. But, having said that, I am going to start with something not so nice. I do believe today the world is a funny place. It's kind of bordering on being a little unfriendly at times now. It's full of cynics, bigots, people who run high on hate, dressing it up in the garb of newfound twisted isms. These people are of different races, creeds, colors, religious and otherwise. One might ask the question, why am I starting my speech, my talk, with such a not so nice topic, on such a not so nice note? Should we lose all faith and become deeply seeped in negativity? My answer is no, surely not. But you sure need to know the ground reality, the current reality. Only then can you think of your way forward, way of countering this hate wave, a way of breaking barriers, which, given the current climate, is much needed in all spheres and walks of life and society. And that is precisely what students at Jadavpur University do. They push the boundaries. They break the barriers. And that is why it's so much fun to be here. Every time, every single time. And I can't help but align myself with the way most people think here. People, as they do here, should argue, debate, discuss openly, something that's becoming a rarity increasingly in the present world and in our land. I know I'm risking being called developed names like secular, fake liberal, libtard, anti-something of the world. But I've had that before, I've been there before. It doesn't really bother me anymore. Am I clear? Am I being heard or am I being interrupted by the body mic? Am I being heard? Oh, great. Alright. So when I was asked to speak on great areas, I was a little flustered indeed. Since I was requested to speak from personal experiences, I had to turn to my own life. And I realized I've actually done a fair number of things so far in my life of 36. 36, that's true. 36. And some of them actually, have been quite rebellious in its own way. I have actually tried to push against stereotypes, to break barriers. As you must have figured out by now that I'm moved to be humble, I'm going to talk about a few of those things that I've done. See, the thing about phrases like breaking barriers, pushing stereotypes, pushing the envelope, struggle period, Sunilda was here a while ago when I walked in. Sunilda একটা বিখ্যাত লাইন আছে বাঙালি সম্পর্কে আর জানা আছে আমাদের বগল ভরা স্ট্রাগল আছে ছাগল ভরা মাংস খুব ভালো লাগে বলতে we love saying this. In my struggle period, during my struggling days, I did this and that, I wrote about and everything. But the thing is, when you are actually up against something, when you're actually up against tasks, you seldom realize it. You're just doing your thing, basically. Of course, there are those sleepless nights, occasional bouts of depression, sudden flushing anger, when you hit major roadblocks on the way to achieving, not to achieving, I would say, on the way to your destination, I would say. But then that's going to be there all your life. That's another thing about the real world, Your trials never end, really. Because at different stages in your life, you're dealing with different creative, personal and professional aspirations and at different levels. Now, I started acting fairly young, when I was 18. When I had no clue what I wanted to do, I was studying and I was fairly good at it and kept doing that alongside acting for the first few years. I actually wanted to be a filmmaker, but my entry into this world happened through being an actor, becoming an actor. Post-college, which was right, I kept on working as an actor. My father passed away fairly young. The family needed money. I realized that it did, and I pushed back my plans of going to the Film Institute and pursuing a course in film. I kept working and became, well, a fairly big young Bengali television star. But it soon started vexing me. Television in India at that time, the one that I'm talking about, mid-2000s that is, was slowly entering that opulent mindless zone, which it is now. Sorry if I'm sounding a little bit like holier than thou, but should I use that? Fill in the blanks? Oh my goodness. Call it punchline globe. Okay. Go ahead. So I'm going to use this from now on. I'm sometimes referring to what I've written because, I wasn't really sure how serious this is going to be. I was in my mind, so I thought of writing something down. Yeah. Right, so sorry if I'm sounding holier than thou, but and to be honest, I was finding television difficult. So surprising everyone, in 2006 I quit television. Luckily, a few good films started happening around that time. The Bomb Connection released, Kalbala released, along with a few other films, and got the success it deserved, all of them. I was kind of becoming a name to reckon with in the zone of alternative Bengali cinema. But guess what? I even surprised myself with this one. I applied for a scholarship for a master's degree in the UK, cracked both the scholarship and the university, and I left for England to pursue a 1.5-year master's course in filmmaking. Leaving everyone here, friends, peers, girlfriend, everyone, barring my mother, barring my mom, absolutely stunned. Everyone thought I was stark raving mad to be leading a career on the upswing for this, for a master's degree. But you know what? I guess I needed to breathe. Needed to feel a little more confident and complete. Needed to see a little more of the world. That's the reason why I left. That was important at that point in time. I guess that can be termed as breaking sort of a barrier on some level. But that sabbatical indeed was life-changing. In ways more than one, and I returned planning to make more things and act less actually. But fate indeed has fun things stored for you. Once I returned, all the big films, so-called big films of mine, for which most people know me, including Kahani and Vaishu Shravan and Hemlock and Hawabadal and everything started happening after that, once I returned. And I kind of went with the flow again. But I also had to make my own movies, so I did start making films as well. It's been 7 years since my return from England, and I've been balancing acting and making films, and now also trying to produce some exciting content for the internet and hopefully for the biggest screen as well in the future. And this brings me to the biggest challenge, the biggest barrier that I've had to deal with so far. The film industry in our country, especially the regional ones, the smaller ones like ours, the Bengali film industry, tends to be a little insulated. It's kind of almost incestuous in some way. It tries to categorize you. It kind of, it depends a lot, everything depends a lot on mutual admiration, at the same time mutual backbiting. It kind of goes around. Seriously, this is meant to be funny. I'm really not trying well, especially after Chondrilda. Alright. So, what I'm trying to say is this industry tries to categorize you, to figure you out, to bracket you, to put you in a certain bracket, to label you. Not being able to do so, it makes the people in the industry very, very, very uncomfortable. And I've been duly labeled or bracketed, if I may say, as an intellectual.
Atil. Oh, intellectual cinema করে ঠিক আছে Atil cinema করে ঠিক আছে You know, I really wish I was 10% of that intellectual they made me to be, you know, and I really wish I was an intellectual, at least 10% of what I wanted to be, because maybe for them it's a derogatory term, something used to show people in, like, you know, a lower podium, but not lower higher, but at least like making an other. But for me, I think the use of this term for me, it makes me feel like that it's an insult to the true intellectuals of the world. Really. So, you know, my unpredictability, the steps I've taken in my life so far, my multitasking, my relationships, starting with a married woman 11 years my older, when I was all of 20, my standpoints and their manifestation across social political matters, choosing odd characters like the recent closet transgender in Shamantaral, or reinterpreting Feluda and making him inhabit today's world, in the true sense of the term, at least an attempt. All of this, I'm pretty sure, has contributed towards this label, this tag. And let me tell you, I'm otherwise perfectly happy with it, as long as I receive appreciation from my audience, and I'm really fortunate about this, I do. My clientele might not be as big as the Potboiler watchers, but the clientele that is there for the kind of films that I do, they're a very, very loyal lot. I really believe in that. And I'm really, really thankful to them. I think of myself as a true blue Bengali, and if there are any good qualities in me, most of them I owe to my identity as a Bengali, but I must also admit that a large section of Bengalis still find themselves rather uncomfortable with the idea of being hyperactive, proactive, being enterprising, being a multitasker. And the one criticism that I get to hear the most these days about me is, why does he need to do so many things? Why can't he concentrate on one? Why can't he focus on being one thing at a time? I think this also comes from not being able to figure an individual out, I feel, and my question is, if I can do all of it with a certain amount of quality in all of that, apna samosya kothay? How does it follow? I'm just doing my thing. So, what's your problem? Don't get me wrong, I'm very fond of my industry folks, my colleagues, my industry people, but again, I'll reiterate that you need to be aware of the realities you are living with, you are dealing with, and the barriers that you are trying to break. These are the barriers that I, or someone like me, in an industry like the one that I work in, I have to deal with. Hence, this topic, hence these points. It's the craving. Now the question remains that why do I want to do so many things? How do I explain this? It's the craving for something more, something else that keeps driving me. You can call me fickle that way, actually. And I'm not necessarily talking of money or fame here, although I wouldn't mind any of that, like, I would love that. Some more money, some more fame. Who doesn't want that? But what is more important is another way to express, another way to contribute, if I may say so, another means of exploring this abstract matrix-like domain that connects the heart, the mind, the society, the people, that we often call art, very simply. Journey so far has been quite crazy, with its due share of success and failure, but it's also good. It's really very, very good. But you know, standing at 36, I feel all you become eventually starts with what you grew up with. And I've been extremely fortunate with that. My father was sort of a Gandhian man, shy, humble, happy with little, a fantastic musician who never thought of making money out of his art but became a journalist all his life and stayed one. A deep believer in God, but his own version of God, nothing institutional. A God that he inherited from Rabindranath. My mother hailed from a film family a family of writers as well, authors, social activists, with very, very strong socialist leanings. Together, they gave me an ambience, an environment which resonated with the finest of international and Bengali thoughts and ideas, and most importantly, an open, liberal environment, climate. Both of them, they came from very, very humble backgrounds and also led a very simple, sometimes even difficult life. But there was no dearth of literature, cinema and music, never. I was never told to become anything. They were the ones who broke barriers first by getting married without any support or gifts from their respective parents or their families. They did it on their own, really, pennilessly, absolutely. They decided to get married, and they did, and then they had me, without any support from anybody. With their limited means, they lived a very, very happy life, a rarity today, even, I would think. They also broke barriers by realizing that their son needed to eat nutritious food, and hence, any taboos against any kind of meat shall not be allowed. Yes, you got that right. Not even against beef. I'm sorry if I'm offending writers and the people present here. Apologies for that. But yes, that's the environment, that's the Kolkata, that's the India I grew up in. It's from them that I got perspectives on the world and the country that we live in, the India that was once envisioned and is under threat now. If I've broken any barriers in my life, it's because I learned it from them. As I said, it's been a crazy journey so far. I wish to thank everyone for being there on this journey and for being here today, for tolerating this rather personal piece, for hearing it out, for hearing me out, and thanks for having me here today. Thanks for inviting me over here today. It's truly an honor. I wish you all the very best with everything that you want to do, that you wish to do in your life. And I wish that you wish me luck too, with everything that I wish to do in my path that lies ahead. Thank you very much.